Is your music getting played? Then you really should be getting paid. In this video, we're going to look at how to collect your music royalties, how to register with PPL and PRS and what they do, and how to collect the money that's owed to you from your music getting played. Let's jump in. Hey, it's Graham Farmer from Data Transmission. I've been a bit quiet recently on YouTube. I've been doubling down on making my first course. My first course came out in February called the Boost Artist Blueprint, and it covers things like social media, it covers streaming, it covers getting your music signed, getting your music heard, and loads of tips on advertising and promotion, and also getting more gigs. We're in our second run at the moment, so if you're interested, there is a link below to sign up for more information, or just go and hit me up on Instagram at Graham Farmer. Again, the link is below. Go and just give me a message on Instagram and I'll send you more info on there. So yeah, I've been doubling down on that, and also the kind of general of running Data Transmission. So I've been a bit quiet on YouTube, and I apologise. Also, homeschool hit me hard from January to March. Having to look after my daughter and teach her during the week was immensely tough. But we're back now, and we're going to be looking at PRS and publishing and music royalties. And I spoke to Ashley Howard from PRS, and he's done a detailed presentation for you for this video, telling you all about what each of the sections does, how to register so you can collect your music royalties, how to actually get paid for your tracks being played in places like bars and clubs and on the radio, and even in things like shops, and what you can collect and when. It really goes into depth, so go and jump in, and without further ado, I introduce you Ashley Howard. Here you go. Enjoy.
Hi there, my name's Ash. Thanks to Graham for this opportunity. I'm the Relationship Manager for Dance Music at PRS for Music. I've been working in the music industry for over 14 years in a variety of different areas, including music distribution, music publishing, record labels, sync, A&R. I've been at PRS now for nearly 5 years, and I'm here today to give you an overview of what PRS is and how to get the most out of your membership. So let's start. What is PRS and how does it work? So PRS for Music is an organisation that collects and distributes music royalties on a not-for-profit basis. We're owned, governed and run by our members. PRS for Music members are music creators and music publishers. So that's anyone that makes their own music. Some dance music examples include Aphex Twin, Bicep, Carl Cox, Camel Fat, Faithless, Flux Pavilion, Quartet, Jamie Jones, Maya Jane Coles, Nina Kravitz, Pendulum and Shy FX. We also represent music publishers, so that would be the major publishers. So for example, Sony ATV and Warner Chappell, but also independent publishers. In a dance music context, a lot of labels have publishing arms. So companies like Anjuna, Ninja, Hospital, Defected all have their own publishing entities. PRS for Music issues licenses to businesses and music users, which enables them to use our members' music. And we'll look at some examples of who our licensees are and where the money comes from a bit later. So the money collected from the licenses is then paid as royalties to our members when their music is used. And we have 4 main distributions a year on the 15th of April, July, October, and December. So we have over 150,000 members at the time of this recording. It's going up all the time. That's across every genre and discipline you can imagine. So approximately 15% roughly identify their primary genre as dance or electronic. Our members have registered over 30 million works in our database. In 2019, we processed 18.8 trillion individual music usages, and over 810 million in royalties was collected on behalf of our members in 2019. Reciprocal agreements are in place with equivalents of PRS around the world so we can collect our members' royalties internationally. So if you want to make money from your creativity, it's important, although perhaps slightly boring, to understand the basics of music copyright. So I thought I'd start with a dictionary definition. The exclusive and assignable legal right given to the originator for a fixed number of years to print, publish, perform, film, or record literary, artistic, or musical material. The keywords there are legal right and musical material. Copyright law covers lots of things, and music is one of them. And this is an automatic right. So copyright is the way in which the music industry makes a living from music. There's lots of detail we could go into here about copyright, but I'm just going to try and keep it as brief as possible. I'll largely be referring to the situation in the UK, but it's pretty similar across the world. So there are two types of music copyright. You've got the master rights, or sometimes referred to as the recording rights. This will be familiar to most people. It relates to the rights within a sound recording. These are owned and controlled by recording artists, who are often referred to as performers, and record labels. The length of copyright in the UK is 70 years from first release. Now, the other main type of music copyright is the publishing rights, sometimes referred to as the song rights. It's something that's quite often misunderstood and sometimes overlooked, particularly in the dance music world. It relates to the rights within the written content of a piece of music. So the ideas, the melodies, the lyrics, even things like bass lines, guitar riffs. These rights are owned and controlled by the writers, the creators, and the music publishers of the music. The length of copyright here is slightly different. It's 70 years from the death of the last surviving writer or creator of the music. So quite a lot longer. All these rights are automatically assigned. It's vitally important you know what they are and how they apply to you. It explains where your royalties come from, and it informs what you need to do to ensure you get paid. So PRS for Music is the home of PRS, the Performing Rights Society, and MCPS, the Mechanical Copyright Protection Society. Both PRS and MCPS are concerned with publishing copyright. The memberships are separate, so joining one doesn't mean that you automatically join the other, although both organizations work very closely with each other. Music creators and music publishers can be members of both PRS and MCPS. So let's take a look at PRS. This is to do with the exploitation of the performing right, which means when music is played or publicly performed to an audience. And we'll look at some examples in a bit. And PRS represent creators and owners of the music, i.e. the writers and the publishers. MCPS is to do with the exploitation of the mechanical right. So we're still in the world of music publishing. This is when music is reproduced or duplicated on either a physical or digital format. Again, we'll look at some examples. MCPS also represent writers and publishers of music. So the rights for online uses, streams, and downloads are a combination of both the performing right, PRS, and the mechanical right, MCPS. Now, all of this is not to be confused with PPL, who do a very similar job to both PRS and MCPS, but relating to the master rights rather than the publishing rights. So PPL, the rights here are often referred to as neighboring rights, is to do with the public performance or plays of a sound recording. This relates to people with an interest in the master rights. In this case, it would be the artists, who are often referred to in this scenario as performers, or basically anyone who contributes an audible performance to a sound recording. And then the record labels and the master rights owners. Joining PPL as a performer or as an artist is free. It's likely that any dance or electronic music producers who make music will need to join PRS, MCPS, and PPL. If you are represented by a music publisher, however, on an exclusive basis, you would not need to join MCPS. So let's look at an example. I'm going to start with a 4-piece band. So we've got 4 members. We've got a songwriter and a vocalist, a bassist, a lead guitarist, and a drummer. So who's entitled to the publishing rights here? Well, the lead singer is the sole songwriter in the band and writes all the songs. This person controls the publishing rights to all the music. The rest of the band have not contributed any musical ideas and therefore have no interest in the publishing rights. The band then head to the studio to record the songwriter's song. So who's entitled to the master rights? Well, the answer is all of the band members, because they've all contributed to the sound recording while playing their respective instruments in the studio whilst recording that music. So how does this relate to PRS and PPL? Well, it's this simple. The songwriter is the only one that joins PRS, but the whole band would join PPL. Let's take a look at another example, a cover song. So the songwriter in this example has written a song but hasn't recorded it. So who's got the publishing rights and who's got the master rights? Well, the songwriter has the publishing rights but no master rights because they wrote the song and didn't record it. And the recording artist is the opposite. They didn't write the song, so have no publishing rights, but they did record it, so they have the master rights. An example could be something like Jimi Hendrix, All Along the Watchtower, which is written by Bob Dylan. Bob Dylan has the publishing rights, Jimi Hendrix has the master rights. Or Whitney Houston, I Will Always Love You, which was written by Dolly Parton. It doesn't have to be a cover. Pop music is often created in this way, where the songwriters and the recording artists are actually different people. If we then look at what that means for PRS and PPL membership, obviously the songwriter is with PRS and the recording artist is with PPL. Now for a dance music track, a solo dance music creator, let's say in this example, it's an instrumental club banger. The person in this example is playing multiple roles simultaneously. They could be considered a producer, an engineer, an artist, a writer, a creator of music. But this means that the person would actually control both publishing and master rights in this example, because they've contributed on both bases and have done both things. So if this person then collaborated with a top liner, for example, and the top liner has come in and has written and performed a vocal over the top of that instrumental track, then actually they too would both be interested in, have an interest in the publishing and master rights. And what does that mean for PRS and PPL? Well, actually, in this scenario, both the producer and the top liner would join PRS and PPL. When it comes to remixes, it's worth noting that the original music creator and owner would usually maintain the rights in the remix also. The remixer would often be paid a fee and wouldn't have any subsequent rights in the remix, although they could be entitled to PPL income. Obviously, all scenarios are different, but that's sort of a general rule of thumb that I think a lot of people in dance music would follow. So if we look at the distinction between performance and mechanical royalties, so performance royalties are owed by PRS to their members when their music is publicly performed or played to an audience. So we're talking about things like shops, bars, restaurants, hotels, gyms. We're also looking at music venues, so a band playing in a local pub or at Brixton Academy or the O2. We're also looking at DJs, whether it's a high street nightclub or sub club in Glasgow or Fabric or Printworks in London or Warehouse Project in Manchester. We're also looking at music festivals, so things like Boomtown, SW4, Glastonbury, etc., etc. We're also looking at radio, whether that's national, local, international, online or digital. So things like, you know, Annie Mac on Radio 1 or Kiss FM. We're looking at TV, so that's obviously, you know, the mainstream free-to-air channels like BBC, but also Sky, and services like iPlayer and Netflix. Streams and downloads, so that can be things like SoundCloud, Spotify, Mixcloud, Apple Music, YouTube. On the download side, things like Beatport or iTunes. We also license computer games, so that anything on the PlayStation Store would be covered by the performing right also. If we then look at the mechanical royalties, these are owed when music is reproduced or duplicated on either a physical or digital format. Physical formats, example CDs, vinyl, DVDs, not to be confused with master royalties paid by record labels to artists. That's a different royalty stream altogether. Here, labels are required by MCPS to have a license, a mechanical license to manufacture these products, and they are charged 8.5% of the dealer price. There are exclusions available to people releasing their own music on their own label. It can also include cover mounts, so CDs included with magazines or newspapers, maybe not so common these days. TV usages can be included here. So some broadcasters would have a joint blanket license to cover both PRS rights and MCPS rights simultaneously. They need the mechanical rights to cover synchronization, so the use of music with moving image, also for copying from one format to another, and also the right to supply, so selling programs abroad or to other platforms. You've then got streams and downloads. You'll notice this appeared on the previous slide. That's because both sets of rights are exploited. The blend of performance and mechanical varies depending on the service. So permanent downloads, there's a 75% weighting towards the mechanical and a 25% weighting towards the performance. On-demand streaming is 50-50, and then webcasting or interactive webcasting is the opposite, so 75% weighted towards the performing. These royalties are separate to those that you may be owed by record labels for exploitation of the copyright, so it's just worth reiterating that. So if you're looking to join PRS and MCPS, if you're creating music that is being regularly used in any of the ways that I've just mentioned, then head over to prsformusic.com/join/writer. There's information there for both PRS and MCPS. It's £100, including VAT, for PRS, and the same for MCPS. It's a one-time payment for a lifetime membership. It covers countries all around the world through our reciprocal agreements. It entitles you to voting rights, so that helps you influence who sits on our members' council once you earn enough money to become a voting member. It opens the door to certain funding opportunities. So we have the Prs Members Fund, who provides support and advice to PRS members who may be struggling financially, physically, or emotionally. They've awarded over 5 million in grants and loans over the last 10 years, including the Emergency Relief Fund, which has operated during the pandemic. There's also the PRS Foundation, a separate organization who run a number of initiatives that provide financial support for the creation, performance, and promotion of outstanding music. They've offered grants or provided grants of up to 35 million and supported over 7,000 new music projects since the year 2000. So it's worth checking out the PRS Foundation's website if you're looking to get some funding for your music projects. So the joining process, you'll need a debit card, copy of ID, so passport, driving license, or birth certificate. The process starts online, but paper copies with original ink signatures must be submitted by post for the application to be fully executed. So once the application is approved, you'll be assigned a membership number, which is also referred to as a CAE number or an IPI number. They're all the same thing. You'll be able to set up a login that gains you access to the member section of our website, which looks like this. The home screen shows your latest distribution amount, which in this case relates to the December distribution, and it gives you access to all the services you need to register works, view registrations, view statements, etc., etc. So here are the tools. So it includes things like searching the database. We've got a new search function which is launched, but our old one is still available. So we've actually got 2 running currently at the moment. You can start registering your works, although remember, if you have a publisher, it's their responsibility to register your works. You should give them your membership number so you're accredited properly by them. You can submit set lists for DJ and live shows. This is listed as report live performances. It's one of the few areas where we need the member to submit usage information. You can see what you're getting paid. There's an analytics tool available that can help you dig down into where your music's being used. You can access statements. I think from April next year, or this year, sorry, we will only be giving access to statements via the website. You can update your personal details here. Very important to keep bank details up to date. You can request a pseudonym. So pseudonyms are effectively your artist name that you operate. It's important that we have this information because we do use that to allocate royalties. You can assign management access to your management company so they can see what you're doing. And there's different levels of access you can give them so they can have their own login credentials and do things on your behalf if you have a manager. You can submit queries to our member services team. You can check unpaid royalties. There's a system that allows you to check anything you might have missed. And there's also some really great how-to content, so videos that can demonstrate how you actually register a work in a step-by-step process. So if we look at a work registration just very quickly, the top half of the screen looks like this. This is actually a dummy registration. The track title, track A, you'll see there's a tune code, and you might also see an ISWC. These are unique identifiers for this particular registration. Use these when interacting with PRS. It helps us find the work that you're asking us about. You can also see duration. If you can enter this during the works registration process, it is worth doing. Some royalties are calculated using this information. If you don't put anything, it will default to 3 minutes. When the work is registered, so you can see that here, in this case, it was the 21st of September 2015. You can also see when royalties were last distributed for both PRS and MCPS. Again, you can see here it was December 2020. There's an alternative titles tab, which lets you put in other names that the track or the song has been known as. You can include remix titles here if the share splits are the same. There's a new feature that links to the PPL database, and it will show you the PPL registration if it has been registered at PPL. So the bottom half of the screen shows all the writers and publishers who have a share in the work. This is a very simple example. The track is entirely written by one person, Anne, who does not have a publisher. So she has assigned herself the full 100% performing share as a PRS member. She has also assigned herself the full mechanical share because she is also an MCPS member. If she, again, just to reiterate, if she had a publisher, the publisher would do this registration for her, and some of these shares would be assigned to the publisher. Alternatively, if there was a co-writer on this work, it would look like this. It's worth noting you should get your co-writers' CAE or IPI membership numbers if you're entering information on their behalf. It's also worth noting for a work to be fully registered or authorized, as we would call it, both people need to enter their shares themselves using their own login. If you register someone else's share using your login, we would deem that as unauthorized, as in the person hasn't entered their own share themselves, and it can result in missing out on royalties. So just keep that in mind. So in this example, you can see Dan and Anne have equal shares in the work, 50% each. Neither have a publisher, but if they did, you would see the publisher details where it says copyright control. Copyright control simply means there is no known owner of the mechanical rights, meaning MCPS can't collect or pay royalties for those shares. In this example, Dan is not a member of MCPS. You can see where it says non-society. That means he's not a member of any mechanical rights society, and he doesn't have a publisher to collect it on his behalf. So his mechanical share goes down as copyright control, and that money is not collected or paid. So if you're playing live or as a DJ in licensed venues or festivals, it's important to send us your set list so we can allocate the royalties. It says live performances on this screen and throughout our website, but DJ sets are absolutely accepted. You'll need gig dates and venue information for this too. I'm not going to go through the whole process, but this is what the main screen looks like. It's important to note you can't claim anything prior to joining PRS, which means you can't submit set lists relating to any period of time before that. So you're all good as long as you were a member when the gig or performance took place and you submit within these deadlines. So for smaller venues, you've got a year to submit, a year from the performance. So something like Fabric or Ministry of Sound or anything in a venue smaller than that is probably the best way of thinking about that. For concert venues and festivals, it's actually 3 years. So anything like an O2 venue or any festival, you've got 3 years. And for overseas gigs, you've got 2 years. We pass the information on to the equivalent of PRS in whichever territory it is that you performed. So looking at the royalties for live and DJ events in the UK, the smaller shows pay out a fixed rate of approximately £9 per show, split across all the music played. Larger events and festivals are paid as percentage of ticket sales, as you can see there. These values are broken down according to the amount of music played and split out based on the shares within the individual works registrations. For concerts, the values are split according to headliner, 80%, and support, 20%. For festivals, the larger stages will have weightings to reflect the bigger attendance at those stages. So going back to the idea of obtaining DJ set lists, we've taken steps to gather this data ourselves using music recognition technology supplied by our partner DJ Monitor. We use MRT to gather information about the DJs and what they play in bars, clubs, and at festivals. So let's take a quick look at this video to find out a bit more.
PPL and PRS for Music play a vital role at the heart of the music industry, ensuring music creators are paid fairly when their music is played in public. As the music industry evolves, we're constantly innovating to adapt. Now, working alongside bars, clubs, and events across the country, music recognition technology is helping to improve the way that music creators are paid from performances in clubs. DJ sets are spontaneous and varied, changing from gig to gig, which can make it difficult for DJs to tell us what they play.
Mr. Sound started life nearly 30 years ago as a nightclub in Elephant Castle in South London. So we are wholly supportive of music recognition technology going into bars and clubs so that the right people get paid.
A small recognition device listens to the music a DJ plays and analyzes it against a database of millions of individual sound recordings, creating highly accurate setlist information. PPL and PRS for Music then use this setlist information to distribute royalties back to the creators of those recordings and works. Devices are installed quickly and securely by our qualified audio engineer at no cost to the venue or event promoter, and can be adapted to accommodate almost all technical specifications.
I'm Beatrates. I am a music producer, DJ, and radio presenter. I play mostly underground dance music, so leaning towards more techno, breaks, jungle, but I am a very eclectic artist, a very eclectic taste. So it's really, really important for clubs to start backing this kind of thing. From a DJ's point of view, music recognition technology is completely private and secure. The information captured will never be made public. It's only going to be used to pay those artists whose music you've played.
We've released music for 20 years now, so we have an extensive catalogue. I hear my records in bars, boutiques, nightclubs. So every time my music gets played, there should be some kind of return or remuneration for that, because the people that create the music deserve to get paid. I mean, it's an art form, music, it's a creative process, and you should be paid for creativity. So music recognition technology enables us to track all of the plays. The music comes first, every time.
So currently we have 33 devices installed in 19 venues, including Ministry of Sound and Fabric. We're looking to increase this in 2021. We've just got our fingers crossed that venues can reopen after or when the restrictions around the pandemic are reduced. This has improved the accuracy of our distributions. We identified 10,000 hours of music played by DJs in nightclubs and bars in 2019. We've also monitored stages at a number of UK festivals, including Creamfields, SW4, Boomtown, and Field Day. I advise everyone to encourage their labels or their distributors to submit your music to DJ Monitor, or failing that, you can send it to them directly yourself. This is obviously going to help them identify more music. Their database is extremely comprehensive, but it definitely wouldn't do any harm to double check that. So for more info on that, I would go to djmonitor.com. And as I say, encourage your labels and distributors to work with DJ Monitor. We also work with another provider of MRT called Soundmouse, who assist us in other areas of music reporting. So it's worth looking into supplying them as well. So in terms of radio royalties, here are a few examples. radio royalties are paid on a per minute basis, and they're gauged on what time of day your music is played. So if you're played at a period of time where more people are listening, you'll get a higher rate, and vice versa. So the high peak is actually relating to a period of 7 a.m. till 12 p.m. The low peak is 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. and also 12 p.m. to 7 p.m. And then the non-peak is 7 p.m. to 6 a.m. So you can see here what the different royalty values are. The values are determined by the amount of music listened to and the audience size of each particular station. All the current rates are listed on the PRS for Music website if you want to look at that in more detail. So finally, when can you expect payment? As I mentioned at the start, our main distributions are April, July, October, and December. It's worth considering when your music is played and when you can expect to be paid. There are sometimes exceptions, but this is a rough guide. So if your music was played on Radio 1 in January and the work registration is in place and everything's correct, you could expect to be paid in July this year. And that is broadly it. Thanks for listening. Graham, have you got any questions?
That was superb, man. Thanks so much for that. So much detail. Like, yeah, so much I didn't know. And yeah, so thank you for doing that.
No problem.
What we'll do, you mentioned all those links. Well, obviously this is going on YouTube, so what I'll do is I'll put all those links in the show notes for this video. And also, I guess if people have got questions, they could ask them in the comments below, and then we can kind of monitor them. You and I can monitor them and see if anyone's asking specific questions.
Absolutely.
The only thing my thing was, I guess, was publishers. I guess lots of the usual thing when in dance music is obviously you sign a track, a label will either have their own publisher or their own or recommend publishers.
Mm-hmm.
Does the artist then still need to be on a registered PRS, or does the publisher do it?
Yeah.
How does that kind of relationship work?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's, as I mentioned, it's not uncommon that a record label will approach you to sign some tracks. So that's the master copyright. But they may also say, oh, do you know what? We have a publishing company. We'd like to sign your publishing for these tracks at the same time. I would be a little bit wary of that scenario. I think the examples I mentioned earlier are these are companies with bona fide publishing arms, but there would be labels out there that perhaps their publishing arm isn't quite as bona fide as you might think. So it is worth asking some questions about that. But yeah, if there's a publisher involved in your music, it is still important to be a PRS member yourself. And the difference really is that the publisher will be handling all your administration. So all the works registrations will be done by them. Mm-hmm. However, a portion of your performing income, 50%, will still be paid directly to you by PRS, and the remainder goes to the publisher, and the publisher will split that money according to whatever your agreement is with the publisher.
Right, cool. That was amazing. Thank you.
Cool, no worries.
Thanks for your time. As I said, I'll put all the links below. And if any questions, please drop them below in the comments.
Brilliant. Thanks, Graham. I really appreciate the opportunity. And yeah, I look forward to answering some of your questions.
Cheers. Thanks, man. See you soon.
Thanks. Bye.
Thanks for watching that. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you found it useful. You may have to go and rewatch it. There's a load of information in there when it was packed in. I hope you really enjoyed it. I hope you stayed to the end. I hope you're here. As I mentioned, at the moment, we're taking on new people for the Boost Artist Blueprint course. And if you'd like more information, the links are below, or drop me a message on Instagram. We'll be back shortly with more videos on YouTube and a really special announcement coming soon. I'll see you in the next video. Cheers. Bye.